$1 million pile.
Scratch him. The reason the Wilderstead is here with me today. Welcome, Dave and Amanda, to Start From Seed Homestead.
Thank you. So Jason and I have been watching each other's channels basically since we both started.
Yeah.
However long that is, 4 years?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, almost 4 years, which is pretty cool. We've been trying to meet up over the years. We've shared seeds and grown various things in our gardens together, but separately. Now we finally get to meet.
Finally here.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is Caddis, our dog, loves watching Kino in Jason's videos.
And Kino loves watching Caddis in your video.
Yeah, so to have them meet as well, it actually wasn't as exciting as we had hoped
Kind
it
of
would
lackluster, yeah.
be. Yeah, but they are getting along. They're hanging out, running around the homestead. So why don't we take a little walk around and you can tell us what you got going on?
Sure. This is the old well shed. There's a dug well in here. Nowadays, I've got the drilled well, and that goes pretty deep. A lot of really good water coming out of that. But once upon a time, all of the water for this property came out of this capped well in here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Completely out of commission now?
It's
Or I suppose you could still dip water out of there, right? If you needed to.
yeah, there's still water in there. There's probably coliforms and other stuff that would need to be dealt with. I don't think it's worth fixing up right now, but at some future point it might be.
Good backup.
Rather than get this back into commission, I'd rather get a bison pump for the drilled well. Bison pumps, if you're unfamiliar with it, they sit on top of a drilled well cap and they run alongside the powered pump. It's a giant hand pump. So they're real cool, but they're like over $1,000, so I haven't bought one yet.
Yeah, I want to get one of those too, but our well is like 300 and something feet deep, and so I'm not too sure if a bison...
I think the bison pump will still do it, but you might need to...
It'd be
like
work.
Extra length.
Yeah, extra length for the pipe.
Yeah, so now this is a storage, mostly for drilling stuff, and used to keep my animal feed in here when I was keeping my animals closer to the house, but now all the animal stuff is in the barn. These are the pigs. The pigs are a new addition to the homestead this year. So we've got two Kuni piglets. This is Oolong. Oolong's the male. And this is Queenie. Queenie's the female. Scratch him. I love pigs. I didn't think I would love pigs, but I love pigs.
These are so tiny compared to the ones that...
Yeah, so they're young still. They are slow growing heritage breed, so it'll be a year, maybe even 2 before they're old enough to breed.
And what's their max size?
Between 200 and 400 pounds.
Oh, okay,
So there's a pretty wide range, probably depends on the bloodlines. This is your standard Hognet from Premier One, and it works great to keep them in. This structure is really just because of the coyotes at night. I figure the coyotes would jump the Hognet, or not. So I put them back in here at night. It's a little bit of a ramshackle lean-to shade shelter, and that wasn't doing enough for the rain, so we got a little bit of a doghouse under it for rain. And then the wire around the top is just to stop any predators from coming over the fence. So this is Naga. Naga is my 2-year-old Maremma livestock guardian dog. She's kind of a dummy, but she's a sweet girl. And this here is Goku. Goku's the second livestock guardian dog. Goku is a Pyrenees Akbash mix. And he's just coming on to 6 months now.
He's a big boy. Hey, buddy.
And his job is to protect those sheep over there. Those are Icelandic sheep. So this is my barn. It's a work in progress. We're trying to get it functional again. This summer I added stairs to the barn because there's a whole second floor that was completely inaccessible. And that's really helped to sort of start tidying this place up, get all the stuff that just sits in storage put away, including all of this barn wood that I've salvaged from tearing out the old stuff that was in here, making room for the new.
You've got like $1 million pile.
Some pretty hefty boards in here that need to get sorted and go upstairs because I need to store hay in here for winter, square bales. And every barn needs a couple of barn cats. So the kittens are only about 4.5, 5 months old, which is why they're still being locked up at night, just until they're a little bit older. This is Bulma. She's a female. This is Cheech. He's her brother. He was supposed to be her sister, so now we got to get him neutered. But you can see they're polydactyl cats, so they've got an extra thumb, which is fully functional and makes them excellent climbers.
Big paws, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna be big, I think, or bigger. Bulma's a tiny little thing. But they love the dogs. They're already catching stuff. This one caught a mole yesterday. This is the chicken coop. Turns out raising chickens without a chicken coop is kind of hard. So in 2019, I think, we built this before winter. That's to keep my guinea fowl and my now white Chanticleer chickens. I used to have Buff Orpingtons. We switched over to purebred white Chanticleer, and we've got a multicolored flock of guinea. The reason the Wilderstead is here with me today, my rabbitry. One of my rabbit projects that I'm moving into is breeding giant rabbits. This is Goliath. He's a Flemish giant buck. He's only about 5 or 6 months old, so he's still got a lot of growing to do because they'll grow until almost 2 years old. And he's a real sweet boy. My meat rabbits are more like this size. That's Hero. Hero's about a 8-pound rabbit, so he's not very big, but he has fast-growing bunnies, which is the trait you want the most out of a meat rabbit. On the other hand, here you've got someone like Chloe, and Chloe's on the upper range of the size I want for my meat rabbits. She's 11 pounds. So a well-bred rabbit, even at this size, will never develop sore hocks on clean wire like this. If it gets pea encrusted and rusty, then that can be a problem for their feet.
So just maintain a clean environment.
Yeah.
Like most animals. Be responsible.
It can be a divisive topic. A lot of pet rabbit people will swear up and down that any time on any wire will give rabbits sore hocks. And it's just not the case. I've been raising rabbits for coming on to, 3 years now. And none of my rabbits have ever developed sore hocks on wire. These are the nest boxes that I give the rabbits when they're going to kindle. So, like the hutch themselves, the bottom is 1/2 inch by 1 inch hardware cloth. That's so that manure and urine can run through so that the kits stay clean in the nest. Even still, you'll probably want to change the bedding at 10 or 12 days old. That's when they start opening their eyes, and so clean bedding will reduce the risk of nest box eye, which is an eye infection. That's about all the size they need. This is about a foot across and maybe 2 foot long. It's probably even oversized in some cases. Closed top. My rabbits like to sit on top of the nest box. This is something that I don't have on all my nest boxes, but I'm going to add. And that stops the kits from climbing out when they start to get mobile until they're big enough to jump. And so if they get out when they're young enough, they can chill and die on the wire. So it's important to keep them in the nest.
And they are fertilizer powerhouses, eh?
Yeah, I seeded this one with red wigglers. And so that's been working down. I haven't checked, but I presume there are still worms in there. And the reason I'm doing a ring instead of just a mound is to keep the chickens from being able to get all the way to the center. Because, as you can see, the rabbitry is also acting as a chicken brooder and a guinea pig brooder. Manure basically never smells unless it gets wet. The urine is what will build up the smell. And so this potato over here is Bonnabelle. Bonnabelle was my first rabbit. And I have decided that I'm not going to be breeding for this kind of coat anymore. And so Bonnabelle is going to go live at the Wilderstead with Dave and Amanda.
You'll have fun up there, Bonnabelle. Beautiful view of Lake Superior.
This is Bella. I think Bella's going to go home with you as well. Bella's looking awfully chonky, so she probably should go on a diet. And when we choose the buck for you to take to breed these girls with, that's where we get some options, and that's what's going to decide what kind of kits you end up with, which is going to determine what kind of hides you get, which the only reason to worry about color is hides.
Yeah.
So when I decided what I wanted to do and how to build my permanent breeder hutches, there's several considerations. One is that they had enough space, and these are approximately 3 foot by 3 foot hutches, which is 9 square feet, which is almost twice what like University of Michigan recommends for meat rabbits. So it's a lot of space. It's good for when I run grow-outs along with their mom, which is almost every time because I never have enough space to move them out. But the most important thing for me after my first attempt at making a hutch for Bonnabelle was that I can reach every corner of the hutch. Because her first hutch was 8 foot by 3 foot, and she gets in the back corner, I'd have to crawl inside to get her. So at this height and size, I can reach both back corners at once, which makes catching rabbits easier. The best way to pick them up is from underneath, supporting them, and if you can, supporting all 4 of their feet at the same time. I recommend having sleeves when doing this so that you're not covered in scars. And gloves too if you want to avoid getting your hands covered in scars.
Yep.
But, you know, I've done this in tank tops and I've bled for it, and you get used to that. That's not a big deal. Okay. You can also move them once, right?
Yeah.
And then stop and reposition. Bonnabelle's been carried a lot. She doesn't like it, but she knows it's out. She's trying to bite me right now. That's one of the reasons you wear sleeves.
Right.
And sleeves you don't mind getting holes in. I would have called her. Wouldn't have been easy, but I would have called.
Wait. You got beautiful eyelashes.
She's a stunner. Let's just send you. Oh, you barely fit, you fatty. One of the things I experimented with this summer, because I have too many rabbits, was a mobile, semi-mobile, semi-forage-based grow-out system for the bunnies. And I came up with this design, which I call the rabbit Palinquin. Basically, it's 3-wire cages suspended in this structure, about 4 inches off the ground, so not so close that manure buildup becomes a problem immediately, but close enough that some of the tops of the grass and forage can grow through the bottom of the wire. Designed for 2 people to move, so it's not great for me because I'm just me here, but it'll be great for Dave and Amanda. And so I'm sending this one back to the Wilderstead. So this is a top access hutch instead of a front access like my breeder hutches. Rabbits don't love being approached from the top. That's when they scatter and get scared because the prey drive kicks in. So when you come to them from the front, they're not nearly as skittish. From the top, they're a little bit more skittish. But yeah, you can see here a little bit of the forage that they'd get access to on this. It's not a ton, but it's fall. The grass isn't growing very much anymore. So he looks fertile. He's a nice boy. Like, he doesn't get a lot of attention because he's in a Palinquin. Doesn't work for me. Hard to pick him up. without scruffing, and I try not to scruff them if I can avoid it. He's pretty chill. What I'm doing right now is called trancing. When a rabbit goes on its back, it goes into a prey state. Not particularly great for them. The only reason I would do this is to check their genitals. Now that it's done, I'll flip them back over. But this is also a good opportunity to do nails, check teeth, make sure the teeth look good, which they do. The teeth can overgrow. Rabbit teeth always grow. They never stop growing. They work down by chewing all the time, chewing on fibrous materials like hay. Pellets should have enough fiber that even with nothing else, it'll keep their teeth ground down. But you want to watch it because if they get long, you clip them with nail clippers. And you want to look at the eyes as well. He's closing his eyes right now, but I know his eyes look good. And look in the ears. Make sure there's no mites or gunk. Looks good. I've been calling him Roku. It's not like he knows his name, so you could change his name if you wanted to.
Jason's just going to send us with some of the usual rabbit feed that these rabbits get, so that we can transition them.
It takes you a few days to find pelleted feed. Why is this lid not closing?
It might be the wrong one.
Then you've got something to give them, and once you do get your feed, if it's not the same brand, you'll transition slowly, like a quarter, 25% at a time, and prevent GI stasis or bloat or anything like that. One of the biggest problems rabbits have is gastrointestinal. They need a lot of fiber, and actually too rich food, too much sugars, too much proteins, too much calcium, they can all be a problem. So by keeping them on their food and gradually moving them to new food, you're less likely to have an issue that'll kill them.
We're going to take some of his rabbit wire. He bought more than he needed, so we're going to take about 8 feet, which is the width of our barn, so we can build some cages in there. We just need that for the bottom. We can use different wire, hardware cloth for the sides. And just like that, the Wilderstead has rabbits. Very excited to come here and get that. Wasn't the only reason why we came here. Obviously, we wanted to see Jason and how his setup is here, and never enough time for that. So we have to leave before we really want to, but we gotta get those rabbits home.
And there's always next time.
One of these days I have to make my way out that way too. Don't know how, but we'll make it work.
Yep, somehow.
Might take 4 more years, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, for sure. All right. See ya.